Hello everyone, I'm Yiying Li. Over the next 15 minutes, I'll share my literature review on impact of remote work. I'll walk you through my literature review on remote work's effects on two critical outcomes: employee engagement and productivity. We'll start by framing the central research question, then cover what studies show about engagement, the upsides and the pitfalls, and productivity, the gains and the gaps. Next, I'll introduce three organizational enablers: trust-based leadership, consistent communication, and well-being support that turn remote work into a strategic advantage. Finally, we'll wrap up with practical takeaways and outline directions for future research. Let's begin. My research question asks, to what extent and under what conditions does remote work influence employee engagement and productivity in large organizations? The studies included in this literature review primarily focus on the North American context. By mid-2024, roughly 80% of U.S. businesses had adopted remote policies, and over half offered hybrid models. Canada mirrors these trends, so findings translate across our two dominant markets. While remote arrangements promise improved work-life balance, reduced commute stress, and higher retention, the real question is whether they sustain motivation, foster collaboration, and maintain performance over time. The studies I examined offered both encouraging data and cautionary warnings about how remote work is managed. To interpret the mixed findings, I used three theory lenses. First, self-determination theory argues that autonomy, competence, and relatedness are core psychological needs. When remote work grants autonomy over where, when, and how tasks get done, employees experience higher intrinsic motivation and deeper engagement. Second, social exchange theory tells us that when coworkers aren't bumping into each other every day, it's easy for trust to slip away and for people to feel disconnected unless leaders step in with proactive trust-building activities. Third, the resource-based view reminds us that success in a remote environment isn't automatic. Companies need to invest in the right tools, think robust collaboration platforms, or tailored leadership training to keep the remote teams performing and feeling united. First, the positive findings on engagement. Recent studies show that when managed well, remote work boosts both engagement and commitment. Flexibility and autonomy are huge drivers. One survey found that offering remote work options increased employees' motivation and job satisfaction, with 75% of respondents naming flexibility and autonomy as the top benefits. Another study showed that over the past 2 years, remote and hybrid workers have been more engaged than their fully on-site peers. And 64% of fully remote U.S. employees said they would consider quitting if forced back to full-time office work. In short, giving people control over where and when they work leads to stronger motivation and performance. Basically, when people get to choose their schedules and work setup, they end up more motivated and productive. Stanford professor Nicholas Bloom ran a big 9-month study at Chop.com, selecting 16,000 core center staff into hybrid and in-office groups. The hybrid group saw quit rates dropped by 33%. Especially among folks with long commutes or who were just starting their careers. While remote work offers clear benefits, it also presents significant challenges. Chief among them, a growing sense of disconnection. According to Harter's 2024 survey, by late 2023, many U.S. remote employees reported feeling less aligned with their organization's mission and uncertain that their well-being was truly valued. As early as 2007, Gagarin and Harrison already cautioned that removing face-to-face interactions diminishes the richness of communication and weakens social bonds. Golden and his colleagues further demonstrated that teleworkers often experience professional isolation when deprived of nonverbal cues, gestures, and expressions. Moreover, Kummer highlights that delayed email or chat responses, combined with the absence of body language, can lead to misunderstandings that erode team cohesion and hinder efficiency. Although remote arrangements afford flexibility, organizations must respond proactively, a topic we'll discuss in the third session. Productivity is another key metric in assessing remote work's effectiveness. In the large 9-month study led by Nicholas Bloom that we discussed earlier, employees who worked from home experienced a 13% increase in productivity compared to their office-based counterparts. This gain was attributed to fewer breaks, reduced sick leave, and a quieter worker environment that enable greater focus. Furthermore, when employees were later allowed to choose their preferred work arrangement, productivity rose even further to 22%, primarily due to self-selection. In Kilda's study, 60% of remote workers reported productivity gains, particularly on uninterrupted tasks like typing. Of those, 35% saw substantial improvements thanks to fewer distractions, while another 25% experienced moderate gains. Only about 10% reported a drop in productivity, typically due to communication hiccups or technical glitches. Altogether, these results demonstrate that offering choice and minimizing interruptions can drive significant productivity improvements. Of course, remote work isn't universally positive. Many managers remain skeptical. Microsoft's 2022 survey found 87% of employees believed they were productive at home. Yet only 12% of managers fully agreed, showing lingering bias toward physical presence. Besides, productivity isn't just about individual output. It also depends on collaborations and idea sharing. Young found that remote workers spend 26% less time with colleagues outside their immediate team, weakening cross-team networks and reducing opportunities for innovation. In short, while remote work can boost individual performance, skepticism from leaders and diminished inter-team collaboration underscore the need for clear structures that foster both productivity and long-term organizational value. Now, as we discussed, getting the most out of remote work hinges on effective management, what researchers term organizational enablers. 3 factors consistently stand out: trust-based leadership, consistent communication, and robust support for employee well-being. These 3 factors are deeply interconnected. Together, they create the environment where remote teams can stay engaged, motivated, and truly productive. Trust-based leadership is at the heart of successful remote work. Bloom showed that when employees control their own schedule, they not only perform better but also report higher job satisfaction. Early in the pandemic, Bartek found that while 70% of small business owners initially reported productivity declines, most shifted to a more positive view of remote work after adapting to it. Chowdhury argued that leaders should move beyond checking visibility, how long people stay logged in, and focus on clear, measurable outcomes instead. Bridges and Sloyser further demonstrate that trust and transparent communication drive engagement even more than whether someone is working remotely or in the office. In short, setting clear goals and granting genuine autonomy fosters both motivation and accountability in distributed teams. Consistent communication is also crucial for keeping remote teams connected and aligned. Microsoft's 2022 Work Trend Index shows that regular check-ins, whether through virtual meetings, team chat channels, or shared documents, help reduce feelings of isolation and ensure everyone's on the same page. Canada add that deliberate virtual team building activities paired with ongoing feedback are key to sustain morale and trust. Emmanuel and Harrington underscore the role of managers in crafting virtual spaces like informal coffee breaks or open brainstorming sessions where employees can connect. When organizations back these practices with the right tools and transparent process, they create the conditions for enduring engagement and strong performance in a distributed team. Finally, supporting employee well-being is equally important. Mabkut and Mubarak show that when organizations recognize achievements, demonstrate genuine empathy, and supportive policies in place, employees feel more emotionally invested and loyal. Practical measures like offering mental health resources, keeping workloads manageable, and allowing flexibility for personal commitments go a long way towards boosting morale and reducing turnover. In summary, remote and hybrid arrangements hold enormous promise, but success is not automatic. Our review finds that granting autonomy can boost motivation and thoughtful leadership can reduce turnover. Yet, without proactive trust building, clear frequent communication, and authentic well-being support, remote models risk isolation, manager skepticism, and digital fatigue. The real takeaway is that remote work is less about location and more about organizational design. Companies that invest in these three enablers, trust, dialogue, and care, unlock lasting engagement and productivity gains. Those that don't will struggle to sustain performance as employees seek ever greater flexibility and inclusion. Finally, while these insights guide current practice, the evidence base still has gaps. Many studies rely on self-reported surveys, which can suffer from recall bias or social desirability. Future work should integrate objective metrics such as system logs, output data, and qualitative peer ratings. Current research focuses on single industries or geographies. Broader, cross-sector and cross-cultural samples will enhance generalizability. Long-term studies are also needed to track engagement and productivity trajectory over years of sustained remote work. Additionally, emerging challenges deserve deeper study. Digital fatigue from constant online engagement and evolving employee expectations around hybrid career development, social connectivity, and organizational support. Addressing these will help organizations refine remote work strategies as the world of work continues to evolve. Thank you for listening.